If you are more concerned with the genitals in the stall next to you versus your own digestive microflora, then you need to get your shit together.
Hello, we're here in Berlin at your stand-up show, about to go on stage very shortly. How are you feeling?
There's just so many weird people here who get it, who get the importance of art, who get the importance of culture, who understand what I mean when I say culture.
You're allowed to laugh at me for the next hour and not get called transphobic. I love you guys. That's me being culturally sensitive. You guys.
I wanted to start the interview just by playing a little game with you where I show you things and I want you to tell me if it's queer or not.
Wow. Yeah, that's remarkably queer because of the handle. It's just giving curve. You can tell some queer person helped design the shape of that.
So the kettle is queer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. This green jockstrap.
Not queer.
Not queer? Is this just gay?
Yeah. This is actually a performance art piece of the distinction between gay and queer.
This copy of James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room.
Oh, that's so queer. It's about the dangling leg, because that's actually a queer lesson in geometry. If the leg was even a little bit higher, it would cease to be queer, or a little bit lower, it would cease to be queer, but it's just the perfect angle that says, I'm queer.
This British passport issued after Brexit.
Oh God, definitely not queer.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm not a woman. I'm literally a Muppet. I look like all the Sesame Street characters at the same time. I'm a Sesame Street gangbang. And I still look better than you.
There's an extra dimension that your book, Beyond the Binary, has come out, which is kind of a primer. I heard that the book had been banned.
Yeah. It's been banned from various public schools across the country. And that really made me sad as a trans kid from Texas, because so much of the reason I wrote a book that was accessible for young people that was small was because even if young people weren't reading it, even just reading that title, Beyond the Gender Binary, seeing an image of someone with chest hair and a dress, I knew would unlock a portal of possibility. And I get it, why they're trying to ban it is because they don't want queer people to have portals of possibility.
Well, particularly that queer person is also a person of color. They see it as ideology, the idea that this is some kind of like wokeism. It's a crusade that's being imposed upon them when the reality is the other way around.
Yeah, that's what people don't get. It's so weird. The gender ideology was the imposition of colonial binary gender norms on indigenous peoples across the world. This already happened. But that's the weird thing about history, is that often oppressors fear the very things that they did to the people that they oppressed.
A lot of people will project trans people as these hyper-political correct people, policing people's discourse. You want to talk about police? Let's talk about how from 1840s until 1970s and later in this country, it was a criminal offense for me to exist in public. From cross-dressing legislation that threw people like me in prison, and you have the audacity to say that we're new. It's not that we're new, it's that you've naturalized our disappearance. And now, we're in these public spaces that we weren't allowed to be in for decades, and we're actually showing you what love looks like in public.
Yeah, I've always been doing jokes on stage since I've been performing, but I never saw what I was doing as stand-up. I was just a performance artist, and I came up learning from queer performers, and they taught me that the way that you get people to digest really difficult things is you have to butter it up with humor.
When I started to come here to Europe, I was like, wait, you mean to tell me that you colonized the entire world, stole everyone's cute shit, and you call this interior design? Really? Really?
And that humor, rather than being the deflection of vulnerability, actually was the enhancement of it. It allowed something to land. And then I started to see all of these stand-up comedians making jokes about trans people like me. And it's not just that these jokes are like transphobic, it's that they're just bad jokes. They're just not well executed. And so I started to challenge myself, and I was like, what would a rebuttal of that look like? And became this very beautiful process of discovering what my own comedic voice was.
Earlier today, my grandmother tells me
that young boys like me aren't supposed to carry so much violence in our bodies.
Earlier today, my grandmother tells me that young boys like me aren't supposed to carry so much pain in our bodies. In other words, we are not supposed to be hurt. Apparently, we are only supposed to be doing the hurting.
I have this friend called Sergi, and he told me something very, very beautiful, and I really want to share it with you because I think about it often. Many people operate by a pyramid, and that pyramid places the person at the top, and then the relationship, then the family, friends a lot lower, and then colleagues. And most people are programmed to operate by a pyramid. He said that he operates via a solar system, and where he's the sun and anyone can gravitate close. Family can be very far away. A romantic partner can be very far away. And sometimes the most powerful connections are just comets that just come close to the surface, and then you don't know when they'll leave, but they make a profound impact. I often, when I meet people, I'm like, you have the pyramid. I can feel it immediately because I can see myself being sorted into a category that often is against my will.
Well, you just did what I hope to do tonight. You gave me vocabulary to help articulate my life. I think what's really frustrating to me too is so many of the queer communities that I was a part of that were tethered together by platonic intimacy are falling apart because people are entering into monogamous relationships. And obviously people are able to do that, but I think that there is a sense of mourning that I have. This is, I think, one of my next creative projects that I'm working on right now, is to articulate the depth of friendship breakup. What's really telling to me is that if we accept that queerness is about exploring and interrogating that which is rendered invisible, that which is marginalized, why has queer friendship continually been left behind? Why, even in queer cinema, are the queer friendships means to an end, which is consummating with a romantic and sexual partner? The idea that we're single if we're not in a romantic relationship is so messed up. We're actually all interconnected to everything. And to call someone single feels like an accumulation of everything that we should be working against.
You know, they're so upset with us saying that we keep on making up pronouns and genders and new words. And I just don't know how else to tell you this, but all words are made up. In fact, the words made up were made up. Plot twist! Invent was invented.
You were working really closely with the director to learn the process of filmmaking. And so looking to the future, are you going to be making films?
100%. The way that I know that I need to move to a new place creatively is I see work where I'm like, how did they do that? I become obsessed. I want to meet everyone involved. I want to, what was the spark? What was the inspiration? My living practice, my survival practice is following what charms me. And directing is pulling me because I began to realize through directing, you can actually create the world that you want to show people. Right now, I've been showing people that world through fashion. I've been showing that through comedy. But to visualize it feels like a new dimension for me, that I could actually create that universe and show people that freedom is real.
Essentially what you're doing is kind of removing the boundaries between these art forms.
Yeah, it's weird when people even describe it as like comedy poetry. I think what I'm just trying to do is tell a story.
I just wanted to say I love you more than they could ever hate you, and I'm so grateful that you are here, and I'm so grateful to be alive alongside you and not merely exist. Have a good night, everyone. Cool.